So I just want to kind of hint on, what our flavors are when we listen to music. Not necessarily play music, but I know I'll attack listening to music because I want to experience new music. But I also have my favoritisms. I refuse to listen to some stuff. And that changes. It's like a snow globe. Like if I get onto something, like I'll get into a band and I'll listen to them full force, for like a month or two or something like that. I'll just go full bore into a band or a style of music, whether it's, I'll go on a grunge kick for 3 months, or, I'll follow Chris Steele, whether it's through Prairie Home Companion or Punch Brothers or whatever, like, project he's got going, because he's my icon. He's the dude of all musicianship for me. But I'll dip in and out of Chris Steele here and there, or, if I see a new band out there that may be receiving a lot of attention through Grammys and billboards and all this and that, and then I'll dive in, whether I like it or not. I'll try to force feed it to myself to see why it's so awesome to everybody else. Why are they getting so much attention? Like, for instance, I did it for a day with Luke Bryan. He's a monster country musician right now, and women and men and families and children and whatever, they love him, and he's just an upstanding musician as a figure, a public figure. But I can't stand the voice. I can't. So what I did one day while I was at work, I was just doing emails, and I threw the earbuds in, and I told myself I was just going to listen to Luke Bryan all day long, all of his albums front to back, and see what that did to me at the end of the day.
What did it do?
I had to chop it off at lunch. I couldn't do it. But I tried. I made that valiant effort to say, because I appreciate music, and I appreciate, all of what it could do, or it does do for people, no matter who you are. And, that's kind of where I go. I dive in, I go full force, 100 miles an hour, and then it kind of dissipates and does its own thing. But then I also hold strong to, the Chris Steele stuff. I hold strong to, some bluegrass flavored stuff, because I started picking up the mandolin. How do you go about listening to music on an everyday basis?
It's interesting. Over the past year or so, I've really defaulted to two artists. Like, if I can't think of what I want to listen to, I go to the Wood Brothers, because I just absolutely love what they do. Especially their live performances. They are just a beast of a band, and I have listened to them all day long. It's pretty much been about, I would go almost 2 years with them. But the other band is Twiddle. Like, I have a coworker whose brother is in the band, and I went to college with a guy whose brother is the bassist, and like I'd never really listened to them much, even though they were very much on my musical radar. I just never really connected with it. And then something about their music hit me this past year, and I would honestly guess I've listened to their album a couple hundred times this past year, and that's no joke. On road trips, it's usually the first thing I put on. So I always have, I guess, defaults that, if I don't know where to go, I go there. So when I first started listening to Fish, like that was pretty much, that was my scene. Like, I loved it. But I try and dabble and explore, and I think with, the music kind of avenues we have today with Spotify or Apple Music, whatever, like, they have ways of recommending artists that are in similar genres, and you're able to explore a little. But I think the biggest way that I explore is just asking people what they're listening to. And I remember doing this 5 years ago, where I asked all of my friends who I knew were either musicians or just loved going to music shows or just loved listening to music. And I was like, what are you listening to? And I got a list of probably 600 artists, and I'm still working my way through that, but I was able to find a whole bunch of gems, like the new Master Sounds, or Wolfpack, or even some, heavier stuff that I never really got into because it's not my scene. But again, listening with an open mind. Because I remember being a kid saying, "Oh, I hate country music," and then as I thought more about it, I was like, yeah, no, but I grew up with Jim Croce and Johnny Cash, like iconic country artists that I just loved. And I was like, I can't say that I hate country music. Like, I can't really say that I hate any music. There's certainly music that moves me more than others, but I just like having open minds. And every now and then I'll just throw on the radio and see what's playing. Like, when I came to your house last night, for New Year's Eve, I threw on the New Year's Rockin' Eve soundtrack, which, as we later learned, was all the artists that were performing that night. But artists that I had never heard of, and ones that were, long from my memory, like Mariah Carey and Britney Spears, but also introduced me some new artists that I had no idea existed. So I think you just have to keep an open mind and an open ear for the next great thing that's out there, because it might be in your backyard. Some local musicians that I've heard in Vermont have been some of the best musicians that I've ever seen live, and it's great to just kind of stumble into a show and see what's going on, see what moves you.
Yeah, you mentioned like Spotify or whatever search sound engine that you use or whatever, being able to pair those related artists and stuff like that, and I usually dip into that to see what those meshes are, but I also look at the other options they have, what's hot or what's new, and I try to like tap into those, and I find myself completely just baffled that I don't recognize any of them. I don't recognize, and I don't currently have a groove for any of that. Like, I can try to tap my foot, I can try to, keep a beat or whatever as it's playing along, but it doesn't seem to reach me on the inside at this point. But and then also, as you mentioned, anti-country, and then over the years, as I got into playing jam sessions with a bunch of older people over at the Eagles Club in town in Rough, New Mexico, and they were playing 3-chord country songs, and everybody had a different instrument, and everybody was 40 years older than me, and it was one of the best experiences for me to start appreciating more music and start appreciating some of the country songs that I heard other people singing. But like the newer stuff, I need to break the bond or the barrier that I have up against walking through a shopping mall and hearing the music in, let's say, like an Abercrombie and Fitch or something, and just saying, I hate that. Because unfortunately it's not true, but it's a stereotype I have in my own mind. I think I need to get rid of that, because I do appreciate the pop artistry of it. Do I miss that Taylor Swift is no longer a country musician, and now she's some pop crazy bigger than the world lady? I didn't really follow her, but I was kind of a little disappointed that she went that direction, because I saw her when she first opened up playing a 3-song set for Brad Paisley in Bangor, Maine, or Augusta, Maine, wherever it was. And I try to involve myself in the newer age pop and emo stuff, just to see what the big craze is all about, and I'm finding it hard to connect with it.
Well, I think there's always going to be music that moves you more than other stuff, and that's, it's easy to be moved by a country song because they're very personal lyrics, and, I've certainly been turned off by some jazz because it's just so wild and out there that I can't even tap my foot to it or connect with it in any way, because it seems like a bad acid trip or something. But I think there's music all kind of in between, and I don't know what your parents listened to growing up. Like I know what my mom was like. She was on the pop stations, like that was on her dial, like that's what we listened to in the car. And my dad gave me a little bit more, and and showing me like classic rock from the '70s and those country artists like Jim Croce, Johnny Cash, and Chicago, and just hearing those horn hits and understanding like that there's more to music than just a manufactured kind of pop song. Which I'm not saying that all pop songs are manufactured, just that some of them certainly are. Whether it's a 60-year-old guy in his basement writing songs to express what a 13-year-old girl is feeling, like it's very much manufactured because he's not the one out there performing it. Not that that's anything new, but I think there's always going to be music that you connect with more, and that's kind of where I'm at with Twiddle and the Wood Brothers. Like I just get down with the songs, the lyrics, the way they perform them. It's just kind of, it all hits me right in the feels, as the kids are saying nowadays. And I think that's part of it. Like we're getting older. Like we're creeping towards 40. Like, I hate to say it, but you're gonna get there before me. But we're creeping, and a lot of this music out there today is it's written for that 15, 16-year-olds who's growing up in a world that's very different from how we grew up in the 80s. So we might not connect with it, just the way our parents didn't connect with Guns N' Roses when Appetite for Destruction came out. Like, my God, what a great album. Like, we probably shouldn't have been listening to that in 4th grade. And all of the drug references and anger and everything that went into their songs. But man, like I can remember like the visceral feeling of like hearing that for the first time when I got the tape for Christmas. And I was like, oh my God, like they are telling my story, even though it wasn't really my story, but it felt like very personal. In the same way that Taylor Swift might be speaking to, your daughters in 10 years. When they're out there exploring music, or whoever the next Taylor Swift is going to be.
I think one of the how I download music in my own mind has always been maybe like a hindrance, as I hear the melodies, and I hear the melodies of the instruments, I hear the melodies of the vocals, and I never necessarily paid a ton of attention to the lyrical content. I mean, I like to write poetry, and I like to write stories and lyrics and songs and all that, and have it be a meaningful like expression and everything like that. But every time I listen to music, I could listen to a song for the first time, and then if you asked me what it was about lyrically, I could not explain it to you, but I could probably whistle that whole damn song from start to finish to you right then and there as soon as I'm done. And I've always interpreted music that way. So I recall my parents, as we were in a car ride one time talking about Appetite for Destruction, and my parents asking me, so Mr. Brownstone, what is Mr. Brownstone? Who is Mr. Brownstone? And I was like, yeah, he's just like a guy that gets in all kinds of trouble, like a landlord or something like that. And my parents like, yeah, I'll go with that.
Yeah.
Go with that.
Yeah, landlord's a good to write about.
But I think that comes across in how I, have probably more than 150 song ideas recorded on the, voice memos on my phone right now that I haven't created into a song with lyrics. I got a bazillion and 50 ideas that I'm eager for us to do something with at some point. But I mean, I can, by the way I interpret music is how it's always come out of me as well. Like one of the first bands that I was in, the Lakers Leaf back at UNE, we got a band together. We had 2 drummers, which was killer.
Grateful Dead scene.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
We had 2 guitar players, bass player, had a saxophone player, who was also a singer. And we had probably 8 or 10 songs that only had chorus lines at first. But when we played parties at houses and stuff like that, it was a hot spot to be, kind of. People liked it there. They knew what the choruses were. They sang along with it, and like you said, being able to see people groove to what you're creating was more so than people questioning, hey, what's that song about?
Mm-hmm.
What are you trying to say?
Yeah, and that's the connection you can't really get otherwise. I mean, at least for me, like I haven't found it in anything other than music, being able to connect it in a way. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's always worth exploring what else is out there, because you never know what that next song is going to be that's just going to hit you in the right spot and keep you going.
The one thing that I heard my favorite musician, Chris Seeley, say, which has always been kind of a grinder to me, where I try to write songs and I think I have a good song, and then I relate back to what his quote was, and I'm like, shit, this sucks, and I drop the song completely, because I heard him say more than once that when he writes a song, he wants it to be a song that somebody's going to listen to 200 years from now, or that somebody would listen to 200 years ago. And he said that, and it just touched home to me, and I was like, damn, yeah, that's what I want. That's such a cool theory on how to go about it. And then when you try to write like that, it's another story. But it's just that's been a Kickstarter and a really heavy door slamming in my face many, many times.
That's a monumental weight to have on your shoulders when you're trying to come up with your next line.